I teach today are group 1, business 1, or business 2? Business 1.
Business 1, yeah.
Business 2 are Mrs. Asma's students. So you're
Yes.
guests today with us. But yeah, don't worry. I mean, if you miss anything, first we'll send the recordings to you. Then I guess she'll do some kind of catch up with you. So don't worry about that. And yeah, just don't worry. I mean, you're in safe hands. We work in a team,
hope
so
that,
we'll
Madam.
never ask you the exam questions about things that one of us taught and the other didn't teach, for example. So don't worry about that. We'll make sure you all have equal chances.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, shall we start?
All right.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm glad I can see Lujain and Ihab and Aya. You look great, the three of you. It's
Thank
really
you.
nice seeing you. Okay. Let me see if I can, perhaps there are others. Wait. Modifier les gens.
Usually we attend about 50 people, 50 persons.
50 students, yeah. But today,
Yeah.
how many are you?
37. I think there are more waiting to get accepted.
Yeah, I'll accept them. I can see everybody now. All right. We can start by a quick reminder of all the things that we said and did so far. So can any one of you remind the rest of what we said and did?
We learned that linguistics is divided into structure, meaning, and context. And there are
that was
subgenres.
the first session. In the first session, we tried to define linguistics. We said that it is the scientific study of language, and that it studies language along 3 dimensions, like Ihab said, which are structure, meaning, and context. And we shared a video on that. I hope you watched it.
Yeah, we did.
Yes, you did. Very good. That was the first session. Then we explained how and why it's called a science. We said because it has the features of sciences. Can you remind me of those four characteristics, if you like?
Because it is based on experiments, not intuitions.
Yes.
Because it is also based on investigation and on hypotheses.
Hypotheses. Good.
Yes.
Yeah. And also because it is systematic, objective, consistent, and explicit. You remember these 4 features that we mentioned and we explained? I hope you do.
Yes.
Great.
I think the other group doesn't know. You can.
No, we didn't.
You do. It's there in the booklet. Perhaps you didn't exactly focus on that.
Yes.
But it's in the booklet. It's on lesson 1.
Page 4.
Page 4. Okay, thank you.
Couldn't find my booklet. It's here. Yes.
Semantic, explicit, and
yes.
Paragraph 1.
Perhaps I'm going to share my screen with you.
Okay.
Or part of it. Okay. What do you see now? Do you see something? What do you see?
Your screen.
Yes. What's on it?
Google Meet.
Apart from that, you don't see any other thing?
Our pictures.
I
Just
know.
the
Yes,
items,
you don't see semester 1 and course description. You don't see this.
No.
No.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I think you
No,
shared
it's
the
your
wrong
face
screen.
only.
I should what?
You shared the wrong screen, I think.
Exactly.
Do you have
that's what I did.
multi-monitor setup or something?
Wait, I'll fix it. Don't worry. Do you see a Word document now?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
Okay. That is the first page of your booklet. It's the table of contents, including the course description of the first semester. So what we did was here, lesson 1, general introduction. We talked about linguistics, we defined it, etc. Then we talked about the origins of language. Perhaps those who had just one session with Mrs. Esma haven't reached that part yet, but it's not difficult at all. It's just there's nothing to understand about it. You just have to know the different speculations and hypotheses.
This is the new booklet, not the old one.
Not the old one. Yeah,
Okay.
those who are repeating the year, it's not the old one.
Okay, 1 second.
There are a few things that are repeated, but we have replaced others by other things. So you'd better buy the updated one.
بعدين بالليل تمشي تبعث لنا الكتاب في الايميل خاطر المكتبة يمكن مسكرة على الأقل نخرج ونطبعه.
I'm not sure I can do this because I actually printed few things from one book and few other things from other books.
Okay.
And I compiled them together. But it's open there. It's open. I'm going in the afternoon. I'll check that. Or I can give you her phone number if you like, the lady who works there.
Okay.
Yeah, I have her phone number. I can give you her phone number, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes. Since you're seeing my screen, I guess we can watch a video together. A video that would summarize. You still hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay. It's a video that summarizes language origins in a way that is quite funny, I think. So it's a short video. We'll watch it together very quickly, then move on to the next lesson.
How do we speak? I mean, sure, our brains send signals to our mouths and vocal cords to produce sound, but as opposed to apes, let's say, how did we as humans develop the ability to speak the very words I'm speaking now? I'm speaking about speaking.
Are you able to hear it?
Yes.
Yes.
Audible, okay.
It's like Inception. The origins of spoken language have been debated for hundreds of years. As far back as 1861, German historical linguist Max Müller released a theoretical list of potential theories for how human beings began communicating verbally. The first of these was the Bow Wow, or cuckoo theory, which Müller credited to 18th century German philosopher Johann Gottfried Herder. Yes, Bow Wow refers to the sound a dog makes, as the theory hypothesizes that humans first formed words by imitating the cries of animals. Hey, makes sense to me. Cats cry when they're hungry, and when I'm hungry, I whine, I want my dinner, meow! Müller had some support, too, from Charles Darwin, the British father of evolution, who said in his 1871 book, The Descent of Man, I cannot doubt that language owes its origin to the imitation and modification of various natural sounds, the voices of other animals, and man's own instinctive cries. How unsurprisingly evolutionary of you, Charlie. But Müller had other theories, too. The poo-poo theory suggested that our first words were emotional exclamations triggered by sensations such as pain and pleasure. And is that why today's word for ow is still ow? See, it just kind of came out. Müller also coined the ding-dong theory, which states that humans would produce sounds reflecting the vibrating resonance of their environment, and the yo-he-ho theory that claims language began as rhythmic chants during heavy work, such as oh-wee, oh-ho, yo. Wait a second, didn't Metallica invent that? Ultimately, even Mueller eventually abandoned most of these largely onomatopoetic theories, and most scholars today find them overly simplistic. But the majority hold that language evolved in stages over the course of millions of years. Perhaps at first, sounds would have been employed to refer to a vast range of things and actions, and eventually humans would be capable of creating distinct combinations of consonants and vowels instead of unstructured calls. But for this to happen, the human brain would have to evolve to control the vocal tract, maybe even the way in which it interprets auditory signals, all of which is still up for debate. Theoretically, though, the first proto-language was born when humans were finally able to string words together in sentences, kind of like a 2-year-old might talk. Me eat, me poo. And finally, grammatical devices like those indicating plurality or tense would be developed. Once again, linguists are divided on whether this would have been a purely cultural development or one that required a physical evolution of the human brain. We do know that the shape of hominid vocal tracts didn't even permit the modern range of speech sounds until about 100,000 years ago, the dawn of anatomically modern humans. But it might have taken much longer for those monkey boys to actually speak. Did humans evolve to become smart enough to develop language, or did language help humans evolve into a smarter species? Maybe a little of both. The biggest problem in solving this mess, of course, is that language doesn't leave behind fossils. Skulls only tell us about the shape and size of hominid brains, not about what they do. Remember, writing came about long after language had developed, only about 5,000 years ago. In the absence of enough evidence to irrefutably prove any evolution-based theory of language development, quite a few people believe that language was given to us as a gift from God. Some Christians, for example, claim that Genesis 2:20 tells us that Adam gave names to all living creatures, suggesting that humans were created with an innate capacity for language. You monkeys just got burned! However, there have been a few recent developments that may shed some light on this. A gene called FOXP2 has been shown to feature a mutation that leads to deficits in language, as well as in control of the mouth. This gene is a slightly altered version of one found in apes, and seems to have achieved its present form between 200,000 and 100,000 years ago. Could this be the language gene? Studies thus far are inconclusive. But a study by MIT this summer claims that the silvery gibbon, a primate in the rainforests of Java that sings, might hold clues as to how humans derived their vocal melodies from birds and the pragmatic content-carrying parts of speech from primates. Still not proven, but it's something. At least we're able to trace the origins of non-human languages like that of Dothraki from the TV series Game of Thrones. It came from David J. Peterson.
All right. That would be enough, I guess. So could you hear what the guy was saying?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
All right. So he just summarized most of the things that we said. And he emphasized the fact that all these are just hypotheses and theories. And the reason for that is that spoken language doesn't leave behind fossils, so we don't have physical traces or physical evidence upon which we can build something irrefutable. So all what we have are debatable ideas. I guess it's enough for the origins of language because we've been talking about that already for so long. We move to the next lesson.
Okay.
If you don't have anything to ask about that, of course. You don't?
No, we don't.
Now it's clear.
No, not really. It's clear.
Yes, clear.
All right, thank you. So now we're on page, if you can open your book list, please. We're on page 14. 14.
Well, 15.
Here's the picture. I guess it's not clear on your booklet.
14.
Yeah, page 14, lesson 3.
Yes.
It's about the properties of human language. So first, before starting to read the content of the lesson, let me ask you a question. Do you have pets?
Yes.
Yes, we have.
Yes.
Pets?
Pets. Yes, yes.
Yes.
You do. Dogs and cats, I suppose, or hens, perhaps.
Exactly.
Yes.
What kinds of
Cats.
pets do you have?
A cat.
A dog.
Yes, I have a cat.
A dog, cats. All right. Do you talk to them?
Sometimes.
Yes.
I order them.
Yes.
Okay. Do you think they understand what you're saying?
No, they actually understand not what I'm saying, but the tone. You can just if you shout at a dog, he will understand that you are angry. But if you talk, if you at the same time shouting and tell them I love you, he wouldn't understand.
Okay. All right. Yes.
I think they understand when I'm angry or something. They're like, okay, no.
They understand your mood.
Yes, my mood.
Yeah.
No.
The tone.
Yes.
Okay. Is there anyone who has more than one pet, like 2 or 3?
Yes.
You do. All right. Do you think they communicate with each other?
Yes, they do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you understand what they're saying to each other?
No.
No, but,
That's an
physical.
assumption.
All right. Have you ever thought about that? I mean, have you ever thought about animals' language, if it is a language, first?
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you ever tried to like record or I don't know, try to memorize some of the noises that they make so that you can understand later on what they're saying?
No.
Yes. When they say like, wow, like go away, you know, don't talk to me.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, you can understand if they are defensive or they are being normal.
You
You
can
can-
understand their attitude.
For example, their ears.
All right. Okay. So the thing is, in linguistics, I mean, linguists claim, they don't only claim, they assert actually, they're sure of that. Animals' systems of communication are not or cannot be called language. So, because for something to be called a language, it has to have certain features. For animals, they don't have all the features of a language. Some of them do have one or kind of one, but most of them don't have any of those features. So what they're using is just a system of communication and it's not a language. Our
They
focus...
interact and communicate, but they do not use language.
What is it?
They actually communicate and interact, but they do not use language to do that.
Yeah, I don't mean human language, but what they're doing, or that system, whatever it is, made of noises or made of gestures or whatever, is it a language? Their own language, it's not ours. I told you the finding is that it is not a language because it lacks most of the properties of a language. So our focus actually is not on animals. We will focus on human language, but we will understand it through comparing it to other creatures' systems of communication. And we will try to build the distinctive features or the properties of a human language by comparing it to other systems of communication. Okay?
Okay.
Now, the first thing you have to understand, page 15, there is an important distinction at the beginning of the lesson here under the title communication. I'll share that. You still see my screen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're here now. I need a volunteer to start reading that paragraph of communication.
I can read.
Can I read?
Okay. One of you, a volunteer, anyone. I can't see the list because I'm looking at the other screen now.
You said first, so you should go first.
Go ahead.
Okay, I read.
Go.
We should communication. We should first distinguish between specifically communicative signals and those which may unintentionally informative signals. Someone listening to you may become informed about your thought, a number of signals that you have intentionally sent. She may note that you have a cold, you sneezed. That you aren't at ease, you shifted around.
At ease.
You haven't ate at ease, you shifted around in your seat. That you are disorganized, non-matching socks, and that you are from somewhere else. You have a strange accent. However,
Okay. Thank you, Ihab. What have you noticed about these signals? You sneezed, you shifted around in your seat.
they are all not linguistic.
Have non-matching socks, and the person who's with you in the same room inferred from all these signals that you have a cold, that you're not at ease, that you are disorganized. Okay. What have you noticed? What is the common denominator between all these signals?
They are not. They are all not linguistic.
They're not linguistic, and they're not communicative. I mean, you didn't do them to communicate something. They're just informative. If you look at the distinction here at the beginning, if you have a highlighter, you can highlight these two terms here: communicative signals and informative signals. Do you see my mouse?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So these are informative signals in the sense that they are not intentional. You see here, unintentionally informative. They do inform others about you, but they're not intentional. Okay. Now let's look at the other type, the communicative signals. Somebody else to finish reading, please.
However, when you see language to tell this person, I'm one of the applicants for the vacant position of senior brain surgeon at the hospital, you are normally considered to be unintentionally communicating
This
something.
time intentionally.
Oh, intentionally communicating something.
Okay,
Similarly-
here's a clearly communicative signal. Thank you. Here's a clearly communicative signal because you're intentionally communicating something. You're saying something with the clear intention of communicating it. Okay? It's not something that people inferred about you. It's something that you said to people. Carry on, Miss.
Similarly, the blackbird is not normally taken to be communicating anything by having black feathers, sitting on a branch and looking down at the ground. That is considered to be sending a communicative signal with the loud squeaking produced when a cat appears on the scene. So, when we talk about distinctions between human language and animal communication, we are considering both in terms of their potential as a means of intentional communication.
Communication, very good. So can you please highlight this part? We are considering both in terms of their potential as a means of intentional communication. So the distinction applies to both animals and humans. And for both animals and humans, we won't be looking at informative signals. We will rather focus on communicative signals, at signals that are clearly meant to communicate something, whether by a human or by an animal. Okay? Have you understood the difference?
Yes.
Yes.
Does anyone have any question about that distinction between communicative and informative signals?
Clear.
Yes? It is not, yes. We're going to see that. That is the purpose of the lesson, is to see why it's not a language, because a language should have certain properties, and we will see that animals lack those properties. or sometimes they just have one of them out of 4 or out of 5 properties. Okay. It is a form of communication. Yes, carry on. We don't, but is it a language first? There are a few things. I mean, there are so many researches that were done or conducted on how animals communicate and what they communicate. And you will see there are so many amazing findings about the systems, their systems of communication. And they have very complex systems of communication, but that doesn't make them languages.
As
Sorry.
complex as ours.
Yeah, it's not as complex as ours. You'll see that. We will see bees, for example. Bees have a very complex system, very sophisticated system of communication. But it's not a language. And you will see why.
Understood.
Okay. So the first property, now what we've been explaining, that dichotomy or that distinction between communicative and informative signals is not a feature. It's just a distinction that had to be drawn at the beginning of the lesson. Now we're starting to see the features. So if you can see the subtitle that you have here, properties of human language. What do we have? How many properties? We have displacement, arbitrariness, productivity, cultural transmission, and duality. There are 5 main properties. Sometimes you may find 6 or 7 in some of the videos or the documents you may find on the internet. But these are the 5 most, agreed upon properties.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. There's one that is not mentioned under a subtitle because, as I said, it's not something that appears in all textbooks of linguistics. Is reflexivity. We will see that right now. So who would like to read this paragraph about why we tend to think of communication? Let me see who's here.
Can I read it, Miss?
Can I read? Yes, Manan, go ahead.
While we tend to think of communication as the primary function of a human language, it is not a distinguishing feature. All creatures communicate in some way. However, we suspect that other creatures...
Okay, thank you. All right. Can you stop for a second, please?
Yeah.
Manel, thank you. Okay. So here it says communication is not a distinguishing feature, even though it is the primary function of language. Because even those other systems of communication used by animals are used to communicate. They share the same primary function, that is to communicate. That's why we cannot call it a distinguishing feature, because it doesn't distinguish human language from other systems. It's shared by everybody, humans and animals alike. Go ahead.
All creatures communicate in some way. However, we suspect that other creatures are not reflecting on the way they create their communicative messages or reviewing how they work, or not. That is, one barking dog is probably not offering advice to another barking dog along the lines of, hey, you should lower your bark to make it sound more menacing. They are not barking about barking. Humans are clearly able to reflect on language and its uses. Example, I wish he wouldn't use so many technical terms. This is reflectivity.
Reflexivity, yes.
The property of reflexivity or reflexiveness accounts for the fact that we can use language to think and talk about language itself, making it one of the...
Highlight this, please, if you have a highlighter. Highlight this sentence here. This is reflexivity. The property of reflexivity accounts for the fact that we can use language to think and talk about language itself. This is the most important sentence in the paragraph. It defines the property of reflexivity. It means that we can use language to talk about language. Like
Yeah.
we're talking about grammar, for example, grammar rules, or we're analyzing the language used by a certain poet or a certain author or a politician. We're trying to analyze the adverbs used or the structures, etc. We can reflect on language itself. And the evidence for that is that languages do evolve. If you compare your language to the language used by your grandparents, you'll notice that it has evolved. Okay, that's why we call them living languages. They're alive, they're like beings, they do evolve. Because we reflect upon them, that is not the case for animals. It's always the same barking for thousands of years. Yes. Carry on, please, Manel.
Okay. Indeed, without this general ability, we wouldn't be able to reflect on or identify any of the other distinct properties. What?
Or identify, you said identity.
Oh, okay. On or identify any of the other distinct properties of a human language. We'll look in detail at another 5 of them: displacement, arbitrariness, productivity, cultural transmission, and duality.
And duality, okay. So, displacement is one of these 5 properties. What does the word displacement suggest to you?
I don't understand it.
Changing the place of something?
Yeah, it has the word place in it.
Yeah.
You see, one of the main properties of human language is that we can use it to talk about things that are remote in terms of place and time. I can formulate a sentence about the elections in the United States, for example. And you will understand that. You will understand what I'm talking about. Or about something that happened 10 years ago, or 20, or 100 years ago, or perhaps something that may happen in the future, or something even imaginary. That is something that is typically human. That is how human language functions. That is not the way other creatures' language functions. You may say, how do you know? Okay, I haven't done any research on that, but people have. There are some linguists and anthropologists who have done lots of research on that, and you can check that by yourselves. And they reached those conclusions. Of course, not everybody is going to invent the wheel again. We'll just take the findings, since everybody agrees on those findings, and just use them, okay? Guys?
I still don't understand.
You still don't understand? Okay.
Yes.
We will read the paragraph together and see if we can get a clearer picture of that property of displacement.
Okay.
Is there any volunteer?
I can read.
You did already. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I read.
Abir, yes.
Okay. Displacement. When your pet cat comes home and stands at your feet calling meow, you're likely to understand this message as relating to the immediate time and place. If you ask your frisk who conducted the experiment, the bees have no words for
Sorry,
are
who is
you?
that?
You missed a page.
Yeah.
If you ask your cat,
page.
you can read from the screen.
Ask your cat.
Yes.
Okay. If you ask your cat where it has been and what it was up to, you'll probably get the same meow response. Animal communication seems to be designed exclusively for this moment, here and now. It cannot effectively be used to relate events that are far removed in time and place. When your dog says "grr," it means grr, right now. Because dogs don't seem to be capable of communicating "grr last night" over in the park. In contrast, human language users are normally capable of producing messages equivalent to "grr
Equivalent.
last night" over. Oh my god. Equivalent "grr last night" and over in the park. And then going on to say, in fact, I'll be going back tomorrow for some more. Humans can refer to past and future time. This property of human language is called displacement. It allows language users to talk about things and events not present in the immediate environment. Indeed,
Okay, can you please highlight this sentence? Thank you, Akir. Thank you. Just a moment. Can you please highlight this sentence because it defines the property of displacement. It allows language users to talk about things and events not present in the immediate environment. It is because we have displacement that we can talk about things that are not here and now present. I can talk about what happened last week. I can say last week we had a session in Introduction to Linguistics, and we did this and that. Language allows me to do that. I can also talk about what's taking place in Egypt or in Turkey or in the United States or in Sudan or wherever, okay?
Can you give us the antonym?
The antonym.
Yes.
For what?
Displacement.
Not every word does have an antonym. This
I
is
thought
not
it
an
would
antonym.
make me understand a bit more.
When you read the sentence, it allows language users to talk about things and events not present in the immediate environment. What's difficult in that sentence to understand?
No, I mean, okay, I understand what it is about in with humans. So, what's the difference between a human and an animal in this term?
In this respect, animals
Yes.
cannot do this, cannot talk about past or future or things that are in remote places. I told you there are studies that were done. We will see experiments later on together, okay? Don't worry.
No, I know, I get it.
Okay.
So
Great.
animals when they speak or not speak. I mean, when they communicate, when they make a signal, it's every time about the moment, the present.
Yes, about their immediate environment in terms of time and place.
Yes. Although humans can jump from with time and place and everything.
Of course, yeah. Because
Understood.
of that property that is called displacement.
Understood.
All right. Shahir, I'll come to you, okay? Don't worry, we will see experiments that prove that. Otherwise, you can do your own research and you'll see that there have been, hundreds of experiments on animals and their communication systems, on whales, on dolphins, on bees, on vervet monkeys, on different types of animals and insects. You're welcome. Okay. It says here, indeed, displacement allows us to talk about things and places. Example, angels, fairies, Santa Claus, Superman, heaven, hell, whose existence we cannot even be sure of. Animal communication is generally considered to lack this property. See the word generally here? What does that suggest to you if I tell
There are
you?
some exceptions.
Very good. There are some exceptions. There are some animals that do have displacement, but it's really limited in extent. It's not similar to the displacement that we enjoy of. Okay. There's that paragraph that talks about that exception. Would like to read this. Lujane, you wanted to read moments earlier?
Yes, I'll read.
Okay, go ahead.
It has been proposed that
we could look at B communication.
Yes.
Oh, you're reading from the old booklet.
Yes, I am. It is different.
You can use the screen here. Is it clear enough to you?
Yes. Where exactly?
We're here. We
could look at B communication as a small exception because it seems to have some version of displacement. For example, when a honeybee finds a source of nectar and returns to the beehive, it can perform a complex dance routine to communicate to the other bees the location of this nectar.
Okay. Thank you, Lujane. All right, guys. Can you, for a moment, imagine yourself a worker bee? You know, not the queen, just a worker bee.
Yes.
Wandering around in a garden, and suddenly you fall on some kind of delicious food, let's say some kind of flowers or nectar, and you would like to inform the others, your friends who are left in the beehive. You know the beehive, where there are small
bee's house
for bees. Yes, the beehive. You would like to go there and inform them that you found some nectar, some source of food. How would you do that if you are a bee, of course?
You need some kind of displacement because that information is actually in the past in another place.
Yes, but you'll see that it's extremely limited.
Yeah.
That
Also,
should happen
it's not
immediately
even thought
after you
about.
find out. Yes. What did you say, Heb?
It's not actually thought about. It's actually natural. It's in their
instinctive.
Yeah.
Yes, and do you know how they do that? How they inform the others? How they communicate? We just hear the buzzing, but it's not through the buzzing that they communicate.
Through movement.
Yeah, they dance. Very good. They perform those kinds of dances in the form of 8, if you like this. And through those dances, the others are able to identify the place of food. Wait a moment. I'll show you a video on that. If you're interested, of course, in seeing a video.
Yeah, we are interested.
Language. Wait a moment. Body. I mean, it's not even comparable because they don't have mouths, and how can you separate their I mean, they don't have a vocal tract so that you can separate it from the rest of the body. They don't have that. I mean, all of them are a body. I mean, all of a bee is a body.
Maybe another bee can see the difference or something.
Of course, yes, they use that to communicate, and it's very sophisticated in the term, in the sense that they use the location of the sun. Wait, I found a video. Bee dance language. It's here. All right. Now I'll share my screen with you again. الله العظيم. I'm sorry, I'm a bit slow, but
No,
I'll
it's
manage
okay.
at the end. Don't worry.
No, it's okay.
You can see it now. You can see YouTube.
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
Yes.
All right. I'll start now.
Did you know that bees are up there talking to each other right now? The honeybee performs a waggle and rotation dance to share information about the location and distance of a nearby point of interest. Let's say you're stuck in a beehive and your friendly busy bee goes out foraging. On her journey, she finds a flower full of powdery pollen. She heads back to tell you and the rest of the hive where this flower is. Out. Distance and direction, my friend. She makes a waggle run, shaking it back and forth real fast while she kind of walks in this straight line. When she gets to the end, she turns to the left, circles back around to the start, waggle run again, now turn to the right, back to the start, waggle run again, turn to the left. You get the idea? Do we really need like a whole electronic waggle bee dance mix? What's really cool is that the length of this waggle run varies, and it varies in a way that's precisely related to bee travel time. Bee travel distance. Closer the destination, the shorter the waggle. In fact, with every second a waggle run lasts, that bee's telling you to travel 1 kilometer. So what? We have kilometers and miles, and bees have waggles? Okay, 1 kilometer, ready to go. But go where? Like a compass, up is this bee's point of reference, which is the sun. Up means towards the sun. The angle of the waggle run tells you where to keep the sun in your sky while you travel. Combine that angle with your distance, and you're ready to go. Other info might be actually hiding in this shake and rotate routine. Like,
All right. We won't have to finish all of it. You already understood, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is clearly depicted in this video. I can see their dance.
Yes. They do dance and they do inform each other about the location of food, which is a kind of displacement. Okay. Who was reading?
I was reading. Oh, لا.
Okay.
I was.
Good.
Can you carry on, please?
I forgot where did I?
Depending on the type of dance.
Stop here, depending on the type.
Okay, depending on the type of dance, round dance for nearby and tail
Nearby.
nearby, and tail wagging dance with variable tempo for further away and how far. The other bees can work out where this newly discovered feast can be found. Doesn't this ability of the bee to indicate location some distance away mean that bee communication has at least some degree of displacement as a feature? Yes, but it is displacement of a very limited type.
Okay. Can you please highlight this? It is displacement at the very limited, of a very limited type. Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
It just doesn't have the range of possibilities found in human language. Certainly, the bee can direct other bees to food source. However, it must be the most recent food source.
It must be the most recent food source. You cannot communicate messages. I mean, if you are a bee, of course, you cannot communicate messages about food sources that you found yesterday or last week or the week before. It should be the most recent one. Yes?
Yeah.
It cannot be that delicious rose bush on the other side of the town that we visited last weekend, nor can it be, as far as we know, possible future nectar in bee heaven.
in bee heaven. Okay, we will see an interesting experiment that was done on bees later on. We will reach that. It will show you the limitations of that displacement feature when it comes to bees. Okay, you'll see that it's really limited. All right.
Yeah.
Now, have you understood displacement?
Yes, yes.
All right. So we can move to the next property, that of arbitrariness. If you look at the word arbitrariness, I suppose you already see an adjective in it.
Yes.
That is the adjective.
Arbitrary.
Arbitrary, yes, if you like the American pronunciation, or arbitrary if you like the British pronunciation.
British. Mm-hmm.
So arbitrary or arbitrary. What is exactly arbitrary about language? Have you ever thought of language, I mean, in that sense? Have you ever thought of language as being something arbitrary? إيش معناتها arbitrary in Arabic? Can you translate that?
اعتباطي.
Okay. What is exactly arbitrary about language?
Random, maybe.
Random, yes. I mean, if you say arbitrary, it means there is no logic in it. No sense, if you like.
No thinking.
Yes.
No post thinking.
No prior thinking. What did you say, Shair? Exactly. What do you mean? How can you say of a word that is foolish and another word that is not foolish? What makes a word foolish? But that is the case for all words. If you take the word door, for example, door. What's in the word door in its shape or in its sound? What's in it that is logically related to the thing that is a door?
Nothing.
Nothing. But yeah, this is a bit abstract for some people to understand. I mean, the good thing, I mean, the best thing to do it is to use a word from a language that you don't know. If I show you, not this word, wait, I spelled the word just for you. I'll look for it. Yes, it's in Russian. I hope nobody knows Russian here.
I guess
Okay.
not.
This is a word in Russian. Does the shape of the word tell you anything here? Does it suggest a meaning to you?
No.
Okay, I'll tell you how it's pronounced. It's pronounced chleb with p at the end. Chleb.
Bread, I guess.
Very good. Who said that? Who said that? Who said bread?
Shame.
I.
How did you know?
My grandpa visited Russia.
All right. But okay, suppose your friend Shaima didn't say that. Is there anything in the shape or in the sound made by the word khlab that suggests bread to you or any type of food?
The ending is B or P, I think.
And so what?
The ending of the word.
Yes. Even the word, I don't know, lamp ends with P. It doesn't mean that it's something that we eat. What I wanted to say is that the relationship between the word and the thing that is referred to by that word is totally arbitrary. There is nothing logical about it. Okay? And the evidence to that is that the same entity in the world is called differently by different languages.
Yes.
احنا نقولوا خبز, they say خلاب. French people would say pain. And so on and so forth. It's the same for all words. So what is arbitrary about language is that relationship between the shape or the sound, the concrete, I mean, part of the word, and the meaning of the word. Okay?
Yes.
So how did we establish that if it is arbitrary? How was it established?
Randomly.
Randomly.
They found a sound or a تركيبة متاع كلمة. What do we call it?
A structure of a word?
Structure of a word that have never been used before, and they throw it on a new thing that is
Who's
invented.
they? Who's they?
Humans.
All of them, but they do have different languages. Yeah, you see, this is why we started.
For example, if you were in Sfax for the last 5 years or something, the crabs that came to all of Tunisia, they started calling them Dash for some reason. I don't know why.
All right. Yes. I see what you mean. هي باهي اللغه كيفاش من الاول بالكل هما ما عندهم حتى كلمه ما يعرفوا حتى شيء معناتها كيفاش كل كلمه ركبوا لها معناتها كل معنى عطاوها كلمه in a very arbitrary way. You see, this is why actually we started with a lesson on the origins of spoken language, just to tell you that we don't know how it all started. There's no answer to that question. It is subject to convention. I mean, it's clear that speakers of the same language, they have like a common agreement that those particular shapes of words mean those particular meanings, but we don't know how or when they reached that convention. Okay?
So for example, in poetry, we learn about harsh sounds and soft sounds. So maybe in another language, those soft sounds are considered harsh in another language.
Yeah, everything is relative, you know. Okay. I would like to see the others. I don't know why I mean, the same people are talking and the same people are silent. It doesn't mean you have to go, Ihab. You can stay, but it's all right if the others. What is that? Displacement. Okay. Don't look for literal translations. I mean, they won't be always helpful. Because it's not the meaning. It's not that meaning that we meant. We didn't mean izaha. I mean, we're using it in a technical sense. We have a class in linguistics, so we're using the word displacement in a very technical sense. Even if you ask a native speaker about that, if the native speaker has never studied linguistics, perhaps he'll never be able to answer you or to define the word displacement. So this is the technical meaning of the word displacement. Izaha is rather, let's say, a literal translation. Yeah, we already, yes. I don't see how you would relate certain sounds with certain feelings. Say anger, there is the angma sound here, I can see. A vowel, how would you relate those sounds with a particular feeling? Those sounds would appear in so many words. Because you're used to, you're used to that word with that meaning. If you present that word to someone who has never heard anything about English, and you say, hey, and just like I said, khlab to you, it didn't denote or connote or suggest anything to you, it will have the same effect upon them. If you present the word anger to someone who has never heard any word of English, say anger, what does that mean to you? Does it suggest any feeling to you? I don't think they'll be able to see what you mean because you're used to them. I mean, it's quite difficult to distance yourself from the things that you're used to. That's why I prefer to use a word in Russian just to demonstrate the thing. Perhaps that is valid for some onomatopoeic words that would mimic, if you like, the sounds they make. Like the words that we saw together last week from the other lesson. If you can see some of them. We have splash, bang, boom, rattle, buzz, hiss, screech, etc. But as we said previously, even those onomatopoeic words are not shared by all languages. You see, the sound of a cat, if you like, in English is to meow, to meow. In Arabic, it's muwe, it's quite similar. But in Chinese, it's to yaung, yaung. That's the sound made by a cat for them. Because they have a different phonological system. So even those words that look onomatopoeic to us, they're not always so. I'm sorry, I know this debate is getting a bit philosophical, but we have to go through it so that we can understand why language is language, actually. All right, I need someone to start reading arbitrariness. Let me see.
Can I read it?
Let me see. It
Okay.
was that Manal who talked.
Yes, it's me.
Okay.
I
I can read.
didn't read. I'm sorry. Manal, you already read. Wafa, please go ahead.
Okay. It is generally the case that there is no natural connection between a linguistic form and its meaning. The connection is quite arbitrary. We can just look at the Arabic word kalaba, and from its shape, for
It's
example,
kalb, by the way.
kalb. Okay. Okay. So, from its shape, for example, determine that it has a natural and obvious meaning any more than we can with its English translation form dog. The linguistic form has no natural or iconic relationship with that hairy four-legged barking object out. It is the next
Out in the world,
in
okay? It has no natural or iconic relationship. Iconic means based on similarity. There's no similarity between the shape of the word dog and the real dog, or the shape of the word kalb and the real kalb. Yes?
This aspect of the relationship between linguistic signs and objects in the world is described as arbitrariness. Of course, you
Arbitrariness.
can
Yes.
arbitrariness. Of course, you can play a game with words to make them appear to fit the idea or activity they indicate, as shown in these words from a child's game. However, this type of game only emphasizes the arbitrariness of connection that normally exists between a word and its meaning.
Okay, so do you see the words here? Ball and fall and small and tall and wall. You see how the child attempted actually to make the word look like the meaning of the word. But even if you do so, suppose you've never heard about the word ball, and I tell you ball and I spell it in that way so that it looks like a ball. Perhaps you'd say, oh, okay, this is an apple, this is a globe, this is a planet, this is an orange, because so many things have this shape. Not only a ball does have this shape. I don't know if you see what I mean.
Yes, it's clear.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so carry on reading, please.
There are some words in language with sounds that seem to echo the sounds of objects or activities that hence seem to have a less arbitrary connection. English examples are what is the word?
Cuckoo.
Cuckoo, cuckoo, crash, slurp, squelch,
Squelch.
squelch, or weird.
Word.
However, these onomatopoeic words are relatively rare in human language. For the majority of animal signals, there does appear to be a clear connection between the conveyed message and the signal used to convey it. This impression we have of the non-arbitrariness of animal signaling may be closely connected to the fact that for any animal, the set of signals used in communication is finite. Finite. That is, each variety of animal communication consists of a fixed and limited set of vocal or gestural forms. Many of these forms are only used in specific situations, for example, establishing territory and at particular times during the mating season.
Yeah, these are examples. Okay, so I hope you've understood arbitrariness. It says here that animals do not have arbitrariness, that it's not arbitrary for them. And we know that because they have a limited set of signals that they use, and each signal is used for a particular occasion or a particular purpose, not for any other. And because, as we said, for us, I mean, for humans, it is arbitrary. And there was a convention that was established at some point in history, we don't know when, but for sure there is a convention among the same speakers, among the speakers of the same language, about the meanings of those forms, that is words, okay? Do you think it is the case for animals that they've agreed?
In Arabic, I
on
think
that?
there is a book that is written about the language of I forgot what it's called. لسان العرب it's called.
Yes, and
it's a series of books, and he's one of the العلامة العرب. He traveled across the Arabic countries and arranged every word in a big almost like a
dictionary.
Yes. لسان العرب. I forgot his name, but the series of books is called لسان العرب.
Yeah, I guess it was a rather descriptive endeavor, like he traveled around the countries and tried to compare dialects and spoken types of Arabic, perhaps.
He actually every letter has a whole book and all the words of it.
Okay. All right, but if we go back to animals now, do you think they have like a social convention on the meanings of the signals they use?
No.
Of course not. They're born with those signals. They don't even have to acquire them. Even if you separate, if you remember last week, we watched a video on when you separate a child, a human child, from exposure to language, the child later on cannot learn any language, right? It's not the case for animals. If you do that, if you separate a newborn dog from the rest of dogs, even if he never sees any dog for his life, is able to communicate like a dog because those signals are innate. Okay?
Yes.
All right, so now we covered how many features? Displacement and arbitrariness. We also talked about reflexivity. I hope you've understood those features we talked about. The next one is productivity. Productivity. The word productivity, what does it suggest to you? It has the
To product.
to produce.
Always able to produce new words and new meanings.
Yes, that is valid for humans. Humans are able to produce or to
An
create.
infinite number of words.
Very good. An infinite number of words and utterances and sentences.
Limited.
Yes.
For example, when we use so an example, it's like the word Google. We use
Yes.
we say Google it. It means that we do research.
Yes, look it up on Google. Yes.
Yeah.
Good. It's not only in terms of lexical terms, even in terms of full sentences and utterances. Because, you know, there used to be like a famous theory called behaviorism that claims that we've acquired language through imitation. We imitate our parents, and this is how we learned language or acquired language. Well, at some point, yes, but the human mind, the human brain is much more complex than that. The human brain is able to create new sentences never heard before. If I give you an example, have you ever been on a plane?
Yes.
No.
Okay, no. All right. For those who said yes, have you ever met the cousin of your friend on a plane?
The cousin of my friend? No.
Yes. Now, let us imagine a situation where you are on a plane and you meet the cousin of your friend. Do you think you'll be unable to say anything, or you'll manage to find something to say? Even if this is the first time you live that situation.
You'll manage eventually to say something.
Well, yeah, of course, we will manage to say something. Even it is something that we've never said before, or we've never heard before, like, oh, hello, you're the cousin of my friend, and we're on a plane. This is the first time I meet the cousin of my friend on a plane. Personally, this is the first time I say this sentence, but I'm able to say it because of that feature of productivity. I mean, human language allows you to say new things, even things you've never heard before. It's not a matter of recording utterances and things that were said before and reproducing them.
Now I understand.
Okay?
Yes. Clear.
Well, do you think animals can do that? Do you think animals can produce new utterances or new sentences.
They actually don't have a language to produce inside of it.
In their own language, in their own system of communication. Do you think a dog can combine two kinds of barking to get a new barking, for example, to mean something else?
No.
No.
They're not able to do that. Even those animals or insects who have very complex, very sophisticated systems, like bees or like vervet monkeys, even those, they're not able to do that. So, who would like to read productivity?
Can I read?
Yes, sure. Zuhair said that before. Then.
No.
No,
I'll give you the floor, Shahir, okay? Because I already read.
Go ahead. Utterances. Is infinite. Okay. Can you please highlight this sentence, including the words, the technical words, because they are synonyms for the word productivity, creativity, or open-endedness. It means that the potential number of utterances in any human language is infinite. Utterances is as the noun from the verb to utter, that is to say or to pronounce. Yes, carry on, Shahir. Cicadas. If you're mean enough, of course, to do that, yes? Okay, let me explain that experiment again. Remember we talked about bees and we said that they have some kind of displacement in the sense that they can communicate the location of food to their fellow bees, if you like, to their friends in the beehive. That experiment consisted of locating food on top of a radio tower, okay? I don't know if you're following, you're understanding what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And the beehive was down, was at the bottom of that radio tower. So they took a handful of bees and they showed them that there is food up there. And they were sent back to their friends so that they can communicate that to them. But they failed to do so because they don't have any word for up in their language. They can only communicate horizontal distances, okay? They cannot communicate vertical distances. That's why they were not able to communicate that, and all the bees flew in all directions. Okay? It says it's one of the ways to drive bees mad is to do that experiment. So you see, even if they have displacement, we said it's very limited in extent, but unfortunately they don't have productivity. They cannot invent a new word or a new signal or a new dance, if you like, to mean up. They have their own signals and that's it. They cannot manipulate it. They don't have open-endedness. They don't have creativity. They cannot create new signals. It's not like human beings, like your friend mentioned. We invented a word for to Google. That it has become a verb now. And there are so many examples for that. We can invent new words, new utterances, new sentences all the time. It's almost, mechanical. We don't even have to do lots of efforts to do that. There is another experiment in the rest of the paragraph. I'll let you read it at home if you like. But yeah, just one important thing here. It says, this limiting feature of animal communication is described in terms of fixed reference. Fixed reference. معناتها كل اسبيس عندها معناتها un nombre de signaux معناتها اللي يستعملوهم. كل سينيال يعني حاجة. ما ينجموش يتصرفوا فيهم، ما ينجموش يلصقوا زوز في بعضهم مثلا ولا يفرقوا واحدة على اثنين.
احنا نجموا نخترعوا واحدة ويفهمها غيرنا معناتها.
بالضبط. انت تنجم ما نعرفش انا شد كلمه مثلا، تنجم كل حرف هيك من الكلمه هيك تعاود تقلب نعش خد كلمه نعش انا حرب مثلا.
كيما تفل
مثلا.
Teaching English to foreign learners.
Exactly, that's an abbreviation. But imagine yourself in a similar situation where you're faced with a new stimulus, with a situation that you witness for the first time. You will find something to say, you will find a word for it, or you will manage to convey the message. You will find the means to. The other experiment was done on vervet monkeys. I'll just explain it very quickly and you read it at home, okay? Yeah, let me remember what was, danger signal, which is used to snake around. Yes, the vervet monkeys, they have 36 vocal calls. Among those calls, 2 are used to indicate that there is danger, okay? They have the signal chatter. That means that there is a snake around, a snake, okay? And they have the signal raub, which means that there is an eagle. You know an eagle?
Yes.
Okay, so the experiment consisted of showing those vervet monkeys an eagle and a snake at the same time. Imagine that happened to you. I mean, that the most natural thing would be to combine the 2 signals, chatter and raup, or raup and chatter, and say them together, right?
Yes, we'll manage it.
Yeah, since the 2 danger causes are present. But vervet monkeys couldn't do that. They're simply unable to do that. They're unable to combine 2 pre-existing signals into new signals, into a new signal. Because their systems of communication lack that property that is called productivity or creativity. They have what we call fixed reference. And so on and so forth. You can read about that if you like. There are so many sources on the internet or videos if you prefer watching things. You can watch experiments that were done on different types of animals, and the result was always the same. They're simply unable to invent or to recombine signals. They have what we call fixed reference. Each signal is used to mean something, and that's it. You're following? It's weird to talk like that, you know?
Yes, understood.
Without anybody listening, without anybody nodding or doing anything.
Madam,
Yes, who's talking?
Jane.
Lujane.
So these features الكل اللي قريناهم
Right?
معناتها هما احنا قرينا فيهم الانيمالز والهيومن بينجز. معناتها هما useful كيفاش نوصلها كيفاه باغ اكزومبل كي باش يجينا كيستيون شنو باش نكتبوا فيه ولا كيفاه.
We will look at the exam questions. Don't worry. I've prepared that a set of. I was wondering if you already bought this. Did you buy this from the photocopy shop?
Yes,
No.
we did.
Yeah.
We did.
Okay, so for those who didn't, please do, because we will use it quite often. Okay,
عالم الناس محلولين توا.
I'll check that. I'm going there in the afternoon. I'll check if it's open.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'll give you her phone number and you call her and you tell her, please prepare 3 or 4 or 10 or 15 copies of that booklet, and she'll do it. She'll be happy to do it.
Of course.
I'm sorry. Unfortunately, because I collected them from different sources. There are some that are really old, dating back to 2011 and 12, for example. Some of them are on my PC. Some others are really old, because I used to have another PC before this one. But just in case you don't manage, I'll do some effort to scan it or do something so that you can all have it. You're welcome. So, how many features are left? We're left with cultural transmission and duality. Okay, they're easy, especially cultural transmission is really easy. Okay, cultural transmission, as opposed to what? Cultural transmission. What is the opposite of cultural transmission? I mean, cultural transmission versus
Innateness.
Innateness, you said?
Yes.
Yes, you're almost there. It's rather genetic transmission.
Oh.
Imagine that a newborn baby is taken from his original parents or genetic parents to adoptive parents. I mean, his real parents are Tunisian. Imagine right after birth, he's taken to live in the United States, for example. He's been adopted by a family there and he is taken to live there. Now, when he grows up, when he's 3 or 4, will he speak Tunisian or American English?
American.
No.
US.
Native American.
Of course, yes. Perhaps he won't be able to articulate any of the Arabic sounds. Perhaps I'm saying if he was really taken right after birth. Okay. Now, if we try to imagine the same thing happening for a cat, imagine you have a cat who gives birth to another small cat, a kitten, and you offer that kitten to your American friend. and that small kitten never sees his or her or its or its real mother.
She's gonna behave the same.
Yeah, the cat will say meow regardless of where she's been taken, or in what country, or in what language, or in what context. It won't make a change, because that is called genetic transmission. I mean, language is transmitted genetically for animals. Their systems of communication is something innate. They're born with it. Okay, even they're not exposed at all to any similar animal or animal of the same species, they will still communicate in the way cats do, or dogs do, or whatever species they belong to. It's not the case for humans. You have to learn a language, or rather acquire a language in a culture. That's why it's called cultural transmission. You have to live in that culture so that you can acquire properly that language. Okay?
Okay, yes.
Yes.
That is cultural transmission. You can read that at home if you like. It will say exactly the same thing that I've been saying, in more academic terms, perhaps. Okay. Last feature is that of duality. This one, we're going to read it. Duality, it has the word dual in it. Dual, it means what? How many?
Two.
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 Double.
Good. Two, yes. For human language, there are two levels. I mean, human language is organized within the human brain along two levels. First, we have the level of, or the layer, if you like, the physical layer of distinct sounds. How many sounds do we have in English or in Arabic? It's a limited list of sounds, right? I'm not talking in terms of letters, I'm talking in terms of sounds. Let's say 44, for example, in English, sounds. That is one layer, okay? Now, using those sounds, how many words can we formulate, and how many sentences can we formulate?
It's a limited.
A limited set of
yes.
numbers of sentences.
Yes, very good. It's an infinite or endless list of meanings and sentences. And because of that duality feature, we can combine and recombine sounds of the same word within other words. If you take the word, because I have that example written in front of me now. Harb, for example, in Arabic. Can use the same sounds to formulate it. What is it?
We can produce many words from this one word.
Yes. If you break it down, of course, into its constituent sounds, haraba, you can use them to say what?
حب حر
محارب حربية.
Yes. You keep just the three sounds. You can get رحب, بحر.
بحر.
Yes. حبر. Yes, very good. We can do that thanks to duality, because human language has double articulation, or what we call duality, because we have those two layers. That is not the case for animals. مثلا التهبهيبه متاع الكلب ما ينجمش يقسمها، راهو ما ينجمش يقسمها هكا ويعاود يركبها بطريقه اخرى. They're not able to do so. As we said, we have what we call fixed reference. Each signal has its meaning, and that's it. They cannot maneuver, if you like. They cannot use it in any other way. All right, perhaps we'll read this. Okay. Somebody wanted to read before Shahir. Who wanted to read?
It's me, Miss Manil.
Manil. Okay, go ahead, Manil.
Okay. Duality. Human language is organized at two levels or layers simultaneously. This property is called duality or double articulation. In speech production, we have a physical
Uh-oh.
use individual sounds. Like, what is it?
Your voice disappeared, but it's back now. Yes.
Really? Okay. Shall I read it again?
Carry on.
Restart from in-speech production.
Uh-huh. In speech production, we have a physical level at which we can produce individual sounds.
Okay.
Like
You
n.
underline or you highlight the expression physical.
Physical level?
Yes. I can't find it. Yes, it's here. At which we can produce individual sounds. That is the first level. Yes.
Like n, b, and I. As individual sounds, no one of these discrete forms has any intrinsic meaning. In a particular combination such as bin, we have another level producing a meaning that is different from the meaning of the combination in nib. So, at one level, we have distinct sounds, and at another level, we have distinct meanings.
Okay, you can highlight this sentence if you like. It explains the duality feature. At one level, we have distinct sounds, and at another level, we have distinct meanings. Yes?
This duality of levels is, in fact, one of the most economical features of human language because, with a limited set of discrete sounds, we are capable of producing a very large number of sound combinations, example, words, which are distinct in meaning.
Okay, yes. I mean, it is not even imaginable to have a language without duality. تخيل انت معناتها اللغه ما فيهاش الفيتشر هذه. تخيل كل كلمه فيها حروف اللي هم مش موجودين في حتى كلمه اخرى. لازم كل كلمه عندها حروفها معناتها واحده. That would be impossible to learn. Even 10 lexical items, that would be really difficult.
Yes.
That's why it's said to be the most economical feature of language. Yes?
Shall I carry on?
Yeah, do please.
Okay. Among other creatures, each communicative signal appears to be a signal fixed form that cannot be broken down into separate parts. Although your dog may be able to produce woof, I'm happy to see you, it does not mean to do so on the basis.
It does not seem.
It does not seem to do so on the basis of a distinct level of production combining the separate elements of W and U and F. If the dog was operating with a double level duality, then we might expect to hear different combinations with different meanings, such as oof, I'm hungry, and foo, I'm really bored.
I'm really bored. Okay.
Madam?
Yes, yes.
I don't understand duality. Can you repeat, please?
Yes, of course. Duality, as we said, the word duality already suggests that there are two things, two layers, two levels, okay? I mean, for us, for human beings, on the one hand, we have a list, a finite list of sounds and letters, okay? But using that list, on the other hand, we can create an infinite or an endless list of meanings, okay? Because the same words or letters or sounds can be combined or recombined in so many different ways, they would create other words and other sentences. That is not the case for animals. I don't know if it is any clearer to you.
Yes.
Perhaps if it is, okay.
I do not understand where is the duality in this.
As we said, there are two levels or two layers. منشيرة عندك معناتها الحروف ولا الأصوات اللي هما حاجة concrete, حاجة physical level. On the other hand, you have the level of meanings.
Connotations.
Yes, and there is no one-to-one correspondence like for animals. الحيوانات عندهم signals وعندهم المينينغز، أما كل signal يقابلوا meaning أكاو. احنا لا، السيجنالز اللي عندنا نجموا نقسموهم لطروف، معناتها الكلمات يتقسموا الحروف والاصوات، والاصوات هيك تنجم تعاود تركب بهم كلمات اخرين.
Yes, I understand. Thank you.
You're welcome, dear. Okay. Perhaps if we watch a video that will make things even clearer. I don't know if we still have time, or perhaps I'll just share the link with you on the messenger group and you share it with the others who are guests.
Yeah, you can share it because right here it would be so much latency and lag. We couldn't understand some things.
Okay. I'll share it. But please, next time, don't forget this, because there are so many things that we need to do here so that you understand how the style of the exam will be and the type of questions you should expect, especially about these lessons. For those of you who have it already, can you please take it? I'll show you what to do at home. You have it?
We do.
Okay. Page 4, please. You will find task 6. Page 4.
Mrs. that in the handouts or in the exam papers?
Here, and yeah. This one that I left in the photocopy shop.
Handouts of the exams, okay.
So page 4, please. You see task 6.
Yes.
Can anyone read the question?
What is the difference between a communication system with productivity and one with fixed references?
Okay, you see it's on 8 marks. You're supposed to write a paragraph here where you explain the difference between productivity and fixed reference. Of course, you're going to use the examples. You don't have necessarily to reproduce word for word what's in the booklet. It's not even advisable to do that. It's better to write using your own language. So you just have to understand the technical words when we say productivity. What do we mean when we say fixed reference? What do we mean? Then you can explain that using your own language. Okay?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that will be your homework for next week. For those who don't have the booklet, I'll write the question here on the chat.
Yes, please.
What is the difference between a communication system with productivity and one with fixed reference? Okay, that's it. So if you want me to read your paragraphs and assess them, please send them earlier than what is today? Friday. Earlier than Thursday night. Okay. I mean, preferably in the weekend so that I can have time to read all of them and assess them or evaluate them.
Okay.
You can send to my email or to my messenger if we're friends already.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So please don't forget this next week because we're going to work here. I'll share the links to the videos. And I'm here if you have any question or comment or suggestion.
Thank you.
So, nothing to ask about?
Everything is clear, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. Everything is clear. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for being here. It was good seeing you and talking to you and hearing your voices.
You're welcome.
Okay. I'll see you next week, hopefully, if everything is all right.
Inshallah. Thank you.
Inshallah.
For
Okay.
your question.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye bye.